Now, he said this morning, you've never called regarding any of the storms Florida has had since you've been vice president until apparently now, and called it political. What's your response to that?
Well, first of all, I have called and talked with, in the course of this crisis, this most recent crisis, Democrat and Republican governors. Called, taken the call, answered the call, had a conversation. So, obviously, this is not an issue that is about partisanship or politics for certain leaders, but maybe is for others.
Flashback. Our focus on leveraging all resources available, including from the federal government. And I've been in touch with both FEMA and the president, as well as marshaling all our state agencies and working to support our local communities. And so for Kamala Harris to try to say that my sole focus on the people of Florida is somehow selfish is delusional. She has no role in this. In fact, she's been vice president for 3.5 years. I've dealt with a number of storms under this administration. She has never contributed anything to any of these efforts. And so what I think is selfish is her trying to blunder into this. No. And here's the thing. She has no role. No, she has no role in this process. I'm in contact with the President of the United States. I'm in contact with FEMA director. I'm obviously managing all our state agencies. We're supporting all our local government. And I will say this. I've had storms under both President Trump and President Biden, and I've worked well with both of them. She's the first one who's trying to politicize the storm, and she's doing that just because of her campaign. She's trying to get some type of an edge. She knows she's doing poorly, and so she's playing these political games. I don't have time for political games. I've got people whose lives are on the line. I've got people whose homes and their possessions are on the line, and we are focused 100% on that mission. I'm not worried about playing her political games. And so she is being selfish by trying to blunder into this when we're working just fine.
Boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. We got to continue to talk about Kamala Harris's tanking campaign, okay? And the reason why you know her campaign is tanking is because she's finally doing a ton of interviews. Now, she's not doing any interviews that are particularly tough or going on any real networks like Fox News, News Nation, Newsmax to take tough questions. No, she's not doing that. I think the toughest interview that she's done is probably 60 Minutes, and they edited the hell out of it, right, to make her sound at least somewhat competent. And even then, she didn't sound good, okay? But she hasn't really done any live interviews, and now she is doing live interviews. And, of course, the first live interview she does is a complete and total softball with the cackling hens on The View. And the way that this live interview went is an example of why she doesn't do these types of interviews, because she quite literally destroyed her campaign in about 15 to 20 seconds when she was pressed multiple times on what would she have done differently than Joe Biden as president of the United States. If she was president, what would she have done differently than Joe Biden? Because Joe Biden went on The View and said to the world that Kamala Harris could have done everything that he did as president, and that he gave her assignments, domestic and foreign, because of that, right? That she is responsible for the disastrous results of his administration. And again, Kamala Harris was asked what would she have done differently than Joe Biden, and she completely and totally bombs in her response. Take a look.
As vice president, you've worked very closely with President Biden for almost 4 years. He was here on our show, and he said there wasn't a single thing that he did that you could not do. Mm-hmm. What do you think would be the biggest specific difference between your presidency and a Biden presidency?
Well, we're obviously two different people, and we have a lot of shared life experiences. For example, the way we feel about our family and our parents and so on. But we're also different people, and I will bring those sensibilities to how I lead. For example, I know we're going to talk today, but one of the issues that I'm very focused on is what we do around home health care.
Yes.
I have done a lot of work as it relates to, sadly, but violence against women and children. I care a lot about that. I love our small businesses. My mother raised my sister and me predominantly, but we had what we called a second mother who lived 2 houses down, who helped my mother raise us. She was a small business owner. I love our small businesses. And so the influence of a personal experience will have its impact on the presidency.
Well, if anything, would you have done something differently than President Biden during the past 4 years?
There is not a thing that comes to mind in terms of, and I've been a part of most of the decisions that have had impact. The work that we have done, for example, capping the cost of insulin at $35 a month for our seniors is something I care deeply about allowing Medicare to negotiate drug prices and bring the cost of prescription medication down for seniors, but my intention is to expand that for all Americans. The work we have done to invest in American industries, whether it be in terms of manufacturing and creating almost 800,000 new jobs around manufacturing. Those were all a shared priority.
Wow. 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 Her campaign is done, right? She just destroyed her campaign in about 10 to 15 seconds after Sonny Holston followed up on her question that Kamala Harris did not answer, right? Which was, hey, what would you have done differently than Joe Biden? And Kamala Harris admits out loud that there's not much different I would have done than what he did, right? So everything that Joe Biden did, Kamala Harris would have did. Not only that, she says that she has been a part of most of the work that the Biden administration has done. So that talking point that left-wing liberal media, people like Mark Cuban and the Kamala stans are putting out there about how as VP, Kamala Harris shouldn't take any responsibility for what happened during the Biden administration because she was so weak, right? She couldn't do anything as VP, despite the fact that she cast the most tie-breaking votes for a VP in American history. She's responsible for about 10% of all tie-breaking votes ever. I mean, just based off that alone, she is probably one of the most powerful VPs in American history, period. But the left tried to deflect and say, no, you guys, you're ignorant. You don't know civics, right? Because as VP, she's so weak, she can't do anything. But yet Kamala Harris just admitted that, yeah, she was a part of what most of the Biden administration did, okay? And not only that, if she was president, she would not have done anything differently. And Joe Biden also admitted the same thing, right? So Joe Biden said it, she's saying it. So yeah, she should take personal responsibility and accountability for the open border, for the disastrous economy, inflation, for our disastrous foreign policy as well too. Yeah, she should take responsibility and accountability for all of it because according to her, she was involved. Now, again, if you've been paying attention, this is something that we all knew, okay? We all knew this because she said that she was the last person in the room when Joe Biden made his decision about Afghanistan. She was border czar. She casted the tie-breaking votes for the Democrat legislation that caused the massive inflation, including the American Destruction Plan and the Standard of Living Reduction Act, right? That is what Kamala Harris is directly responsible for. So again, I don't want to hear this, oh, well, you don't know civics and you can't hold Kamala responsible because she's VP, she's powerless. I don't want to hear that nonsense anymore. That talking point is dead and Kamala just destroyed it, just like she just destroyed her campaign. Because the American people are dissatisfied with Biden, right? It's crazy how you're running as the candidate of change, right? That's what Kamala Harris is doing. She's running as the candidate of change, but just admitted that, yeah, she's responsible for everything that has happened in this country for the past 3 to 4 years. This woman is dumb, right? This woman is just not very smart, okay? So with that being said, okay, the rest of the interview, Kamala Harris basically did what she normally does in interviews, which is not answer questions directly, but also tried to blame Trump for everything. Like, for example, she tried to blame Trump for the criticism that the Biden administration is currently getting, her included, when it comes to their response to these hurricanes and natural disasters. Take a look.
Kamala, and I'm calling you Kamala because for all of those who are mispronouncing it, I want you all to know how to say it. There you go. But let's talk about something you would do different from Donald Trump. Right now, there is a monster storm barreling towards my state of Florida, a place that's still reeling from Hurricane Helene. Trump is lying, claiming that the Biden administration is intentionally withholding aid from the areas where Republicans live, and that FEMA funds are being redirected to migrants. Ironically, that is something he did in 2019. What do you think the effect of these lies are, and why is he doing this?
Well, it's profound, and it is the height of irresponsibility and, frankly, callousness. So lives are literally at stake right now. I traveled to Georgia and to North Carolina after Hurricane Helene. In Georgia, I met a woman who, just days earlier, her husband was killed in their home by a fallen tree. Days later, I met with her and her daughter. You can imagine the pain, the shock that they are still in about what they experienced, what they witnessed. I mean, we're talking about real human beings and their lives, and them losing everything. Everything. This woman lost her husband, her child lost her father. People are losing their home with no hope of ever being able to reconstruct or return. And the idea that somebody would be playing political games for the sake of himself, but this is so consistent about Donald Trump. He puts himself before the needs of others. I fear that he really lacks empathy on a very basic level to care about the suffering of other people and then understand the role of a leader is not to beat people down, it's to lift people up.
Absolutely.
Especially in a time of crisis.
Yeah, so again, I found it hilarious how Ana Navarro starts off this question by trying to take a jab at people for mispronouncing Kamala's name while at the same time mispronouncing her name, because Ana Navarro, who's a Latina, is not Indian. Kamala has an Indian name, and the way that Ana Navarro pronounced her name is also not correct, right? That's just the most hilarious part about it. While she's trying to chastise others for mispronouncing her name, she can't even get it right, okay? I think it's Kumala, right? Listen to how Vivek Ramaswamy pronounces it. That's how you actually pronounce it. But anyways, again, what else I found to be ironic, okay, is Kamala Harris accusing Trump of playing political games when she's the one that just got called out by Ron DeSantis for playing political games, claiming that she called him and that Ron DeSantis rejected her phone call, okay, when it comes to trying to help out with Hurricane Milton, when Ron DeSantis came out and said, no, that's not what happened. She hasn't called me. And in fact, she hasn't been involved at all when it comes to hurricane relief throughout the last 3 to 4 years, right? It's just funny how that works. I mean, she's the one currently playing political games for her own benefit, okay, to help out her own failing campaign, right? Because, again, she's not doing very well right now. So not only did she basically try to blame Trump and try to claim that Trump is playing political games with the hurricane, she also tries to blame Trump for the border crisis and what happened at the border, despite the fact that she said on The View herself that she would not have done anything differently than what Biden did, which has to include repealing all of Trump's 90-plus executive orders when it comes to protecting the border, right, on day one, okay? She said herself she would not have done anything differently, that she would have done that exact same thing, but somehow, some way, the border not being secure, the historic amount of illegal immigration that has happened in this country is somehow Trump's fault, according to Kamala Harris. Take a listen.
When you were here last, I asked about the border, which remains a top issue to voters. And as you rightly pointed out, the former president blocked the strongest border security bill in decades. But there remains this perception among voters that the Biden administration dragged its feet and waited too long to act to address the border crisis. Can you speak to why voters may feel that way?
Sure. Well, first of all, to your point, when we first came in office, hours after we were inaugurated, the first bill we offered, before infrastructure, before bringing down the cost of prescription medications, it was to fix our broken immigration system. And it never got taken up, in large part for political reasons, because solutions are at hand, and we need to fix the problem. Then, to your point, a bipartisan group of members of the United States Congress, including some of the most conservative members, worked together with our support to craft the most serious and strong border security bill we've seen in years.
Yes.
Donald Trump got word of it and told them, don't put the bill up for a vote, because he didn't want a solution, because he preferred to run on a problem instead of fixing a problem. So then we had to do, in addition to what we've done since day one in trying to strengthen the border, we took further action in terms of executive action. We have seen illegal immigration reduced by half, the intake of fentanyl reduced by half. But ultimately, if we want a real fix to this, Congress has to act. We need, for example, in that bill, we would have put 1,500 more border agents at the border, which is why the Border Patrol supported it. I went down to the border, and let me tell you, these border agents are working around the clock. They're trying as hard as they can. They need more resources. I have personally prosecuted transnational criminal organizations for the trafficking of guns, drugs, and human beings. I have taken on the cartels. I've prosecuted the cartels. I understand the serious nature of this issue and the need to fix it. And solutions are at hand, but again, Donald Trump prefers to run on problems instead of fixing problems. He's not solution-oriented.
Wow. Same old lies, same old, oh, well, everything that happened in the Biden administration is Trump's fault, even though Kamala Harris, again, just said that she would have done everything that Joe Biden did. She would not have done anything differently. She also was involved in all his major decisions, but somehow it's Trump's fault, right? Trump is the one that is at fault for all of the bad things that has happened under the Biden administration. Again, it's absolutely amazing, right? And you have useless Republicans like Ana Navarro and Alyssa Farah Griffin, who just want to be invited to the parties. They want to be a part of the club, that are on the show that offer no pushback, no fact checking, no corrections of Kamala Harris in her lies. Like, for example, when she talks about how she's taken on the cartels and she has prosecuted this person, that person, and she has not, right? She has not. All of that is a lie. I'm actually surprised that nobody has called her out about that same lie she keeps telling in response to the border question, right? About her own personal experience with the border and dealing with the border as Attorney General, which is very little, because as Attorney General, she really didn't deal with the border at all. Okay, News Nation did an epic fact check on Kamala Harris when it comes to that, which is probably one of the reasons why she won't go on a real outlet like News Nation and do an interview like this, because that type of lie would not pass, right? They wouldn't just allow her to get away with continuing to tell that lie. But again, the whole point of her doing these interviews is for these platforms to just openly allow her to lie like this, okay? But I personally am getting to the point, guys, where I'm ready to stick a fork in her campaign, right? I'm so serious. Like, I'm not getting overly confident. I just feel like at this point, they don't have any other choice but to continue to do these interviews. And the more of these interviews that Kamala does, despite the fact that they're complete and total softballs, she's just making it worse. She's just digging herself in a deeper hole. And the primary reason why is because she refuses to be honest, right? She refuses to be an honest person. She just lies. And then occasionally she will say something that will completely contradict the narratives that are putting out there to defend her, right? Like, for example, how as VP, she was so powerless that she couldn't do anything. Therefore, you shouldn't blame her, right? But she just completely destroyed that defense on The View, right? She just completely destroyed it. So again, she doesn't have any other defenses anymore, right? She just said that she is responsible. So why should anybody believe that she is going to be the candidate of change, that she's going to change anything, when she's the one that is responsible for all the things that have happened over the past 3 to 4 years, and she doesn't even admit that she was wrong, okay? Or that they made any mistakes, or that she's learned from those mistakes, or anything like that. Again, you have to be an idiot if you are voting for somebody to change things. If you want something different, which is what a vast majority of this country wants, right? 75% of this country, to be exact, according to the polls. If you want something different, you would have to be a damn fool to vote for Kamala Harris. Just based off this interview alone, 75% of this country should vote for Trump. Because again, if you want something different, Kamala Harris just told you, I'm not different, right? I'm more the same. Same old, same old. This is why she's running around with the likes of Liz Cheney, using neocons like John Bolton in her ads and stuff like that, is because she is more of the same. You're going to get Biden 2.0. That's what you're going to get from Kamala Harris. Listen to her. Her values haven't changed. She's telling you. Nothing has changed. I'm still the same old person, and I was responsible for everything that you are currently complaining about, that American people are currently upset about. She was responsible. She had a hand in everything that the Biden administration did, right? So, hey, let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.